Welcome back to Hold My Merlot.
Hello.
We're here with Rami.
And we're here with Fran as well.
Oh, I guess I'm here. We're also here with Marty behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And Ziggy, who's causing all havoc, my puppy, and two cats. So if you see them kind of roaming around, you know what's going on. It's a full house over here / part-time zoo. So, as usual, we start with a wine tasting. Today we're trying Grillo's Doc Dow from Portugal. It's a red blend, so it's Grillo's Doc Dow. No idea what the heck that means. It reads at the back, Dow, a distinct region for the originality of its wines, has a unique terroir that was very regularly gives birth to excellent wines. Grillo's... Alright, let me start over. Dow, a distinct region for the originality of its wines, has a unique terroir that very regularly gives birth to excellent wines. Grillo's Reserva is intense, elegant, and balanced. It pairs with a wide range of international cuisine and dishes. So, Grillo's Doc Dow from Portugal, it's a red blend. It's 13.5% by volume and alcohol. It has 91 points in the Wine Spectre. And we're gonna rate it.
Yes, we are.
So first, we're going to start off with the color. What do you think of the color? It's a red blend.
It's alluring, like a femme fatale.
Yeah, isn't it gorgeous?
Mm-hmm.
It is something. I like it.
Yes.
Nice, like rich, like regal burgundy, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like it's like a splash of gold in there somewhere, but you don't know where it's hidden.
I feel like if you were watching a James Bond movie, this is the wine the villain would be drinking.
Ah, yeah. Oh, God, smell it. It smells so good.
Yeah, it definitely is something. I think I give the color about a 4, and I give the smell about a 4 as well.
Okay, so I'm going to give the color a 5. I'm going to give the smell a 4, but gorgeous in general. Right. Just thoroughly impressed with Grillo's Doc Dow.
Yep. All right.
All right,
cheers.
and let's taste.
Yeah, cheers.
We didn't do the taste.
We cheers before we drink. Come on, man.
All right, sure. I don't know what Rom's been smoking, but all right.
That's good.
Oh God, that's delicious. Doesn't it taste like it's organic?
It does.
It tastes like it has no chemicals in it. It tastes like they just took them grapes, put them in a barrel, had some grandmas, like, just get all their good old, put their feet in it. They stomped on it for, like, I don't know, a couple of weeks, let it sit for, like, I don't know, a year. And here it is, with a couple of spices here and there, you know?
Nice.
Some turmeric, I don't know, maybe some, cloves. Oh, it's rich. It's rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you give the taste?
Delicious. 5.
You give it a 5, so do you give it a 5 across the board?
No, fam. We have a 4, 4, 5, like what, 13 out of 15. B plus, good, great wine.
So 4 or 5? What do you give it?
Well, 4.5. You know. So.
All right, sorry, we're gonna give it a 4 across the board. We highly recommend it with this 4 rating.
It's delicious. Yeah. I have really enjoyed this.
And be careful when you're putting the glass down, Rami. You're just literally slamming it. It goes right into the microphone. Grillo's Doc Dow from Portugal. We give it a 4 out of 5. Highly recommend it. Gonna give them a couple of pointers. Get rid of the cricket on the front of the marketing. It actually looks like it could be a roach. We don't typically put insects on marketing in America when we're trying to sell something of luxury such as wine. I'm just being honest. We just don't do it. And then you have on the bottle something about 18 degrees Celsius somewhere. We don't do Celsius. Please just do the math for us. We're lazy. We don't care. It's just confusing and it's annoying. But other than that, great wine. Go out there and purchase it. It's about $20. Not too cheap, not too expensive. Grillo's Doc Dow, 4 out of 5. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, welcome back to Hold My Merlot. Today's topic is going to be very interesting. I was watching MSNBC a couple days ago in the morning. I believe it was Morning Joe. And one of the commentators, one of the people that they invited to the show, made this really interesting point that I thought was worth sharing. And it's basically about the socioeconomics of millennials and especially young men. And kind of like the lonely state that a lot of men are in, and just where we're going in a general direction as a country as far as like opportunities for men. All right, here we go.
You know what?
Can we? So, I haven't even played the clip.
I mean, like, shit. Okay.
Play the clip?
Yeah, the clip. I said we're gonna play the clip.
I had no idea. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Trying to convince a young man. I think you have the most talented, well-resourced people in the world and companies trying to convince a young man that he can have a reasonable facsimile of life in his basement behind a screen. You don't need friends. Go on Reddit or Discord. You don't need to get a job. Go on Robinhood or Coinbase and trade crypto and stocks. You don't need to go through the rejection and the expense and the humiliation and working out and having a plan and humor and showering to get a romantic relationship. You have you porn. So we have an entire generation, especially of young men, who are out home sequestering from society and missing out on what it means. There's a reason romantic comedies are 2 hours and not 15 minutes. True victory in life is hard. Going out, meeting someone, finding mentors, finding mates, that stuff is hard, but that's what real victory in real life is like. And because a lot of men feel rejected on dating apps, the number of jobs that are accessible to them has gone down. You have essentially a group of men who are saying, I want a low-risk entry into life. And they go down a rabbit hole. When they don't have social connections, they don't get out, and they don't have the prospect of a romantic relationship, they're more prone to conspiracy theory, they're more prone to misogynistic content, they're less likely to believe in climate change, and some become really bad citizens. We are producing too many of the most dangerous person in the world, and that is a young, broke, and lonely young man.
Well,
okay, so Rami, what are your thoughts on that comment?
Okay, so I'm somebody who actually does research on this personally. I think this is a topic that interests me. Now, I'm no longer a young man. I'm 30, so I'm an old. My AARP card arrived like a week ago.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. I was at Denny's at 6:00 for their early dinner.
Yeah. Did you get your free coffee?
I sure did.
Good for you.
Me and Ethel. All right, had a great time.
And Louise.
Oh, and Hubert. All of us had a great time. Okay.
Oh, hilarious. Oh, boy.
So, like, on one hand, this is true for young men. Actually, I'm starting to get hot. Let me take this off. So on one hand, this is true for like young men. Like there are like job stability is definitely lower. There's not a lot of easy opportunities anymore. Like now, like for a lot of like jobs and like careers, you do need a degree.
Yeah.
Even if like for what I do, for example. What I do, you don't need a master's for. If I have to be really honest, I like my job. I like what I do, but
and what do you do, Rams?
I'm a data analyst for the federal government.
Okay.
And
data analytics. What degree do you have to be a data analyst?
I have a master's in public policy with a concentration in data.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Which is a very specific degree and a very in-demand degree, especially in government right now. And actually in most companies. Data analytics is one of the fastest growing fields. So, yes. That's wonderful, Roms.
But, like, personally, I don't feel like my job is so complicated that, like, if you had, like, a bachelor's or even a high school diploma, really, like, you couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Excuse me. But, like, I feel like this focus on young men is a little... not dishonest because the young men are going through things.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like there's because like I feel like a lot of this is capitalism and just how the modern economy is not built for anyone to really survive easily.
Right. Very much so.
Anymore. And also women still just go through worse things. Like I was looking at the employment statistics before this show, and women at all age groups have higher unemployment than men. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And like Sure, like maybe part of it's like women working at home, but like that's not that common. It's not 1950. Like you know what I mean? They're not that many men out there providing for like a woman and their family on one income. You know what I mean? Like
that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But I think where this particular commentator was going was he was talking about how, I mean, they're just. And I kind of see it myself with some of my friends and some of their kids and some of, like, the young guys, like, I meet sometimes. Like, guys in their 20s a lot of them have, like, no general direction. Like, they have, like, no clue what's going on. There's, like, very little ambition in that area.
I hear you on that.
And there's a lot of, like, young men who are kind of, like, trying to find themselves within a culture that doesn't, I don't know if it doesn't necessarily open up to them and maybe celebrate them as much, just because we're going through a stage kind of like where we're like post Me Too, and there's a lot of this whole talk of toxic masculinity online, and there's a lot of build yourself up by the bootstraps with like guys like Andrew Tate, and a lot of young men are like gravitating towards this kind of like toxic online content. That, for me personally, I mean, I've talked about this before. I have made, like, basic comments on other people's boards, and men just come after me, like, with pitchforks. Like, I'm saying, like, the worst thing on the planet. And I'm like, what is it with these guys nowadays? They're really angry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There are a lot of angry men out there
now. And sometimes when I get to the bottom of these comments, I really just ask, I'm like, do you have a job? Because their last comment must have taken like 15 minutes to write. It's so long I can't even read it. Like, what are you doing? Are you in the basement?
Is there?
Why did you spend this much time responding to a stranger?
No, fam,
and what it is, and this is what I think it is, I think a lot of men and also a lot of people in general think that online communication with strangers counts as real communications and interactions with people, like how it is in the real world. In the real world, you wouldn't dare say some of the stuff you say to people online. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, half the stuff I see, like, people write to me online when they're getting real down and nasty, I'm like, oh God, you'd never say this in public.
Yeah.
Like, this is just you posturing and trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah.
And it's just totally crude, totally disrespectful, totally out of place. And to be fair and honest, I've been a troll, okay? Not for too long, but I literally got off of Instagram because I found myself becoming the people I hated that were commenting on my stuff. I'm like, I found myself like looking for attention, and I was just like, wait a minute, Fran. I'm like, why did you say that? Like, that was so mean. And I would post stuff and I'd be waiting. I'd be like, ooh, this is going to cause a fire. And I just knew it was. I knew what I was saying wasn't, like, totally off. But I knew it was controversial. And it would, like, kind of, like, rub some people the wrong way. I haven't been on Instagram probably in about 4 to 6 months. Like, for real, like, on there constantly like I used to be. I am off of it because I am convinced it is a toxic space. It is not healthy. It does not thrive on positivity and good citizenry. And it's a space where I think a lot of young people are. And a lot of young people think it's a real place. So Dave Chappelle said something really, really interesting a while ago. And he said one of his friends were like, hey, Dave, did you see what they're saying about you on Twitter? And he was like, oh, I'm not on Twitter because I know Twitter is not a real place. And the audience cracked up. And I remember, like, when he said that, something clicked in my head. And I was like, shit! I didn't realize it wasn't a real place. Like, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, like, all these spaces I actually thought were, as they call them, public spheres.
Is the corner of his face a real place?
Who?
Dave Chappelle's.
I don't know why.
I'm sorry. That's a reference to Will Smith smacking the shit out of him.
Oh, interesting. Well,
I'm kidding.
I guess it is a real space. But what do you think about what I just said, Rams? Like, what do you think about, like, social media kind of being like this toxic space where a lot of people kind of like get involved and get nasty and say mean things to one another.
I mean, yeah, definitely, because you have the whole manosphere.
Yeah.
And like the red pill.
Oh god, can you explain the red pill? Because I'm always confused about that. The red pill, blue pill people. What is that about?
Oh, the red pill is like a term for like an umbrella of different like online communities, for men. A lot of them are very toxic and far right in their ideology. They like, you know, and like they're different though. Like, you know, like you have PUAs who are kind of a fish out of water now. They're kind of artifacts of the past. Because
what's a PUA exactly?
A pickup artist. The pickup artists were like the guys in like the early 2000s to mid like 2010s, I would say, who were like, you know, they go to clubs, they dress a certain way, and they have all these little tactics and like gimmicks on how to pick up women.
Oh god.
And they would like, you know, do stuff like neg a woman, like insult her to like lower her self-esteem so that they could like pick her up. Like,
oh god, I think someone tried that on me like a while ago.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Yeah,
I was.
I think it's called needling.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little on the chubby side not too long ago because I've been eating a good bit since COVID, and someone literally asked me if I was pregnant as I was about to like sip this giant glass of wine because the bartender loves me because I tip her really well. And I'm just like about to take that good first juicy, and it's like almost filled to the brim. I'm just like, oh, it's Friday. He's like, excuse me. And he's like, are you pregnant? And I was like, why would I be here drinking this giant glass of wine?
No
like
game.
I was just like, does that make any sense to you? And like, even if you thought that, why would you ask?
No game.
Like, what would I tell you if I was pregnant?
Nah,
I just want my baby to be defective. You know what I mean? I was so pissed. I gave him the hand and I was like, I wouldn't be drinking if I was pregnant. I wouldn't be at a club if I was pregnant. So I turned and he
swinging a miss.
And he tried to talk to me for the whole rest of the night, and I sat right there and ignored him every time he tried to talk.
Hit the showers, dude.
Which means that maybe that is what he was trying to like put me down.
Yeah, I guess, or he has no game. Like that's one. Excuse me. That's one of those situations where that's so awkward that either he was trying to be funny or he was trying to put you down, but either way it failed and he should have just left.
The problem is that
so
like
awful.
this this subject was an overthinker, so that tactic didn't work well with her, and so what happened later is that he panicked in the situation because usually it does work. The problem is that you overthought the
Does it, Marty?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Do you want to know what Marty did to me? One of the second times Marty and I went out, and Marty and I were always just friends, is he rated me in front of my friends.
No, that's weird. I'm sorry, Marty.
Yeah, and I think it was a tactic too to try to put me down to see like where my self-esteem was, to see if I was like a manipulative.
Not anymore. I apologize.
He called me a 7 out of 10 in front of my friends.
It was the subject of the conversation.
And no, it wasn't. It was totally out of place. It came out of nowhere. The entire table stopped. Like, it was like that part of the movie where everything goes ching-ling-ling-ling, and everybody just turned around and was like, whoa.
You remember it that way?
I remember that way. Nobody liked your comment, Marty.
Okay, so
it was
real quick before
so
we move on,
awkward.
It was actually a group of guys that we were meeting up. I said, like, nah, we're not dating, like, you know, honestly, and it's like, so what are you rating attractiveness or something like that?
No.
It was something around
Marty, you're making it up. You're making it up.
And that's why I said it, and then you were like, which, again, I apologize, I shouldn't have rated you. That's a big no-no. But, again, that's not what happened, because the other guys were like...
That's not how I remember it. It was so awkward. Like, everybody was uncomfortable, and everybody was just like... W2, let's move on. That's how I remember it.
Okay.
Anyway,
hold on, y'all. All right.
So pickup artists, that's what it is.
No, that's one segment of it. Okay.
Right, and we're getting very off topic here.
No, we're not, because the pickup artist thing, and this is the producer speaking. So the pickup artist is part of the aspect of the loneliness card. Because what's happening is that nowadays we don't call them pickup artists anymore.
What do you call them? Losers.
Basically, we call them sigmas and alphas and all that stuff.
Oh, and betas.
That basically converted into the...
But, and maybe this is an ignorant take from me, but I feel like the manosphere and like the red pill have changed. Because when I was a kid, I admit it, like I wasn't red pill per se, but like I used to be on like men's like style blogs and stuff, and like in high school and like undergrad, and like a lot of these guys looking back were like actually like pretty like red pill adjacent in terms of like their thoughts. Like they'd be like, oh, only boys wear sneakers outside of like the gym. Like real men wear like loafers and like real shoes. And I used to like encapsulate that. Now I wear sneakers all the time because I'm a grown ass man. I have money and I can do whatever I want. But like, but excuse me. Back then, at least the pickup artists, like their goal was to get women. You know what I mean? Like they were scummy and they had bad and their tactics were bad. I agree. But they at least wanted to get women. Now, like with the like Andrew Tate, like red pill types of guys, these guys don't really want to pick up women.
No. They want to put women down.
Yes, like they have an incelness to them. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean?
They do, like the loner type style shit. And it makes no sense to me. Like Bonji and I, we were out at this club in downtown Silver Spring called Citizens and Culture, and it was myself, her, and a group of other people. And the group that we were with were a little bit older, so they're way less shy.
Yeah.
And we told one of the guys that we were with that was a little older, he's probably like in his early 60s, that we liked this group of young black men that were there that were, oh God, it was just a smorgasbord of delicious black men. So Bonji and I got really excited. Our eyes were oogly. So the guy went up to them and one of them just started like shooting the shit. He's like, where are you guys from? Blah, blah, blah. We got two young, hot, like black chicks over here. They're trying to like, talk to you. So the guy comes back and he tells us, he's like, oh, they're all married. So I looked at Bonji and I was like, what are the chances of like 7 or 8 black guys like in their they look like they were late 30s, early 40s. I was like, what are the chances that they're all married?
Hey, now listen, black kings are loyal.
Black kings are loyal, but I remember the next day I talked to Bonji after I got over my drunken stupor, and I was like, they just didn't want to talk to us. That's literally all that I think it is. And it could just be that it was guys' night out. Maybe guys do that too. We're not talking to girls today, which I totally don't believe. But a girl within our group that was a little older, all right, a lady in our group that was a little older, ended up talking to them. And we left her with them. Like 7 or 8 gorgeous black guys, and they're just talking to her. And when we were talking the next day, we're like, what is it? I'm like, is it that they're comfortable talking to her because they kind of know that they wouldn't go for her? Maybe she's so comfortable because she's married and nobody really cares about the situation. Like, no one's trying to hook up with anyone. But I was like, but they wouldn't talk to me and Bonji. They were just like, oh, no, tell your friends we're married. Like, we're good, right? I found it so strange. I found it so strange. The rejection was, to me, so odd because we're at a bar. Even if to me, like, if I was out with a group of me and, like, my 8 friends, like, in our 40s, right? And 2 good-looking young people at a bar were like, what's up with you guys? Even if we were married, we'd be like, come over and say hello. You just be a little friendly. It's a fucking bar. People are having fun. People are drinking. You don't have to hook up. You don't have to connect. But you can make, like, the extra gesture to be like, hey, like, this is who we are, blah, blah, blah. But they're just like, nah. But they were cool hanging out with the married chick who had no intentions.
I'm not going to get into that. So
but, yeah, to me, that's where it goes to with these, I don't know, men that don't want to connect and... I don't know, these insular people that stay online all day and they're dating and swiping and swiping and swiping online all day.
So
I don't know.
I feel like that's more, but like if we even get into that, excuse me, like I remember reading that like the number of single men who are actually looking to date is lower now than ever. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I just remember reading there's like some news article about this. And so like I feel like for a lot of young men, dating is this luxury that they don't feel they have access to.
Wow, that's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like, because if you're content with yourself and you don't feel like dating, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you're like, I'm looking for somebody, but I just don't feel like I can like get the person that I want, then, you know, that is sad. Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I wanted to kind of go through a little bit of some notes that I kind of took for myself about what I think kind of might be going on.
Yeah, what is it?
And I think in general, we as a society, we as a culture, especially in America, have just become less interactive. And
oh yeah.
The less interactive you become, to me, like, just things just change because people just aren't making those connections. You know, there's that saying that goes, it's trying to get a job or anything like that. It's who you know, right? It's not what you know. You can have all degrees in the world. If you don't have the proper connections, you're probably not going to get where you want to go. If you don't go to networking parties and meet people and meet executives and shake hands and put yourself in front of employers, right? LinkedIn and Indeed isn't always going to work for you. Sometimes you got to put your foot out there and, I don't know, quote unquote, I don't know, look at people in the eye and talk to them. So I took some brief notes kind of like for myself and just how I kind of remember time passing by, right? So with the 70s and 80s was kind of like a boom era, you know, where the housing market was flourishing and jobs were plentiful and opportunities were everywhere and people were traveling and experiencing other cultures. And there's like a little bit of technology, but not like a ton of technology. Most things are being done by hand. There's a lot of what is called like paper pushing. So accountants, lawyers, doctors, real estate agents, most big businesses are being run by people, right? So people are being paid to do a lot of work. There's like a lot of work, a lot of long, arduous hours, like crazy work schedules are kept by all kind of different companies, right? Fast forward to the 90s with the advent of email and, you know, better, faster running computers that are now like available to most people. First computers were only available in universities, but once they start getting to the desk of companies, you have lots of job cuts. You know, you have the .com boom around the 90s too, where Yahoo and all the other search engines are kind of like tanking. There's a lot of consolidations in businesses where just a lot of work is just being done by computers now, and they just don't need the manpower that they used to have. Like, for example, long time ago in a faraway place, you used to have to store like 7 years worth of I want to say like files in any company. Now you could just at a click of a button on a computer look at pretty much any file by just going to the year, probably finding some alphabetized list. 1, 2, 3, you find it. You're not going into a basement, looking up boxes, going through files one by one. Now it's like bam, 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 you found the file. So there's a lot of downsizing with companies back then as they needed to keep less and less paperwork around. And it's easier to do business because information is traveling through computers instead of via snail mail and mail couriers, right? You come to 2000s, the computers start coming out with software. Computer companies come up with software and programs that are running entire divisions. You have companies contracting a lot of their work to India and Mexico and other places and other countries. Fast forward to the 2010s, those companies are also doing computer repairs through new software programs now. So a lot of like even really great tech jobs are kind of like disappearing. And all in all, we as a major developing nation have not taking a look at technology as a negative disruptor in major industries and a job cutter, because as they're cutting jobs, they're also creating jobs. You also have like software engineers and programmers coming out, creating some of the software and programs that we use within our jobs to continue the work. Some people do what they can to keep up, and you have people going back to school and getting higher education, and you have some aging out of the workforce, of course, right? But we have with the early 2000s and today, I think, what is an ongoing decline in opportunity for workers, because I don't think some people have been able to keep up. Some people haven't been able to go back to school. Some people haven't been able to brush up on their skills. And some people are literally coming into the job force with like the wrong skills. Like the skills just are not needed. There's just so many degrees, so many people coming out with degrees like like, what do you do with a degree in philosophy or a degree in history or a degree in, I don't know, whatever. There's so many, like, bazillions of degrees. What do you do with a degree in music? Like, you can follow your passion all you want, but if you don't get a degree that's in demand, which is what a lot of kids don't do because they want to follow their dreams at first because everybody keeps telling them, be all you can be, do what you want to do. Well, you know, the doors will open if you just keep trying, right? We keep pushing that dream to them, and then it doesn't happen. So there's a lot of fluctuations, I think, within the stock market. Never-ending job stop crashes, and now we had the housing crash. You have dwindling jobs that offer retirement packages. A lot of the jobs that are out nowadays don't have any retirement packages. They have like tiny little 401ks that they kind of give you where you chip in a little and they chip in a little.
Which should be its own episode. Biggest scam in the world, going from pensions to 401ks.
Yeah, for real. Because now we're never going to retire. We're all going to die till we jump into the grave. But you add on to all of these kind of like declines in like need for workers with some incline of, you know, like need of software program engineers and things like that. You throw in social media, and I think you have a gigantic kind of like problem because you have some people who have time who are, what is it called, distracted by social media. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so out on Instagram, let's see. Okay, I wanted to see. Let me see what we're talking about here. Yeah, so you add Instagram and all these other kind of, I would just call them like distractors. And I think what's happened to a lot of people is, you know, they're just becoming more and more isolated because maybe either their jobs maybe aren't as demanding as they used to be, or maybe they have super demanding jobs because now they have to work harder to keep up with it. And then all the extra time maybe that they do have, they spend it at home alone with their devices.
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of things going on, right? So, like, when American society is isolating, all right?
In general, all of us, we're all isolating.
No, we're not like Europe or Asia, where there's good public transportation everywhere, or even Latin America. When I went to Brazil, they had excellent public transportation. Like, you know, American society, you need a car generally to go anywhere. Yep. Like, we live in D.C., we're blessed, okay? Thank God. We have good public transportation. Thank God. Like, I visit my friends in Texas, and I go to Austin, great city, love Austin. Terrible public transportation. I go to Houston, great city, love Houston. Better public transportation, but still not good. I go to Atlanta, love Atlanta, Black Mecca, all right? Still terrible public transportation. And so, like, owning a car is, like, necessary if you want to be a social human in most of American society. But then also, on the other hand as well, we don't have third spaces anymore, really.
What are third spaces?
Third spaces are places where humans can meet each other and basically interact without spending money.
Oh, wow. So is that like a picnic area or?
Yeah, like a picnic, parks.
Parks and recreation spaces.
Like skate parks.
Community centers.
Yeah, community centers.
Ice skating spots.
Like YMCAs if you like.
Oh, where it's, free or next to nothing.
Yeah, like, and so now.
Free festivals, all these kind of stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't really, like, a lot of those exist still, but, like, if you don't have a car, you can't get to them. And then a lot of those places don't really exist anymore. So, like, you know, if you're, like, a young guy and you're like, you know what, I want to go out and I want to just meet some friends. Right. And I'll go to the bars.
The meeting space has become the bar.
It's expensive. And it adds up quick. Like, listen, you can go out in D.C., have a good time, go home and realize you spent $200 in, like, a night. You know what I mean? Just, like,
I don't know about that.
Not even drinking for you, drinking for other people, like, buying drinks, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, big baller. I don't spend that much when I go out, but I hear you.
Well, to be fair, you're a woman. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm definitely not buying people drinks.
Yeah, people are buying you drinks.
Unless it's their birthday.
All right. Like,
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, all right.
I hear you now. Okay, I see. Wow. It is expensive to be a man.
In some ways. It's more expensive to be a woman in many other ways, okay? Like the pink tax, like, you know, how women's clothes and, like, women's stuff is overpriced exponentially, like, you know, shit like that. But like, yes, if you're going to the bar, you're probably spending more as a man. Or like, hell, even trying to get in the bar, you probably have to pay a cover as a man.
Never thought about it. Wow, I learned something new today. I keep forgetting I'm always kind of like aiming to have $0 tab when I leave any bar.
Yeah. And so what I would say is, like, you know, a lot of, like, if you're a young person, a lot of these third spaces don't really exist anymore. Like, I remember when I was a kid, if you were in high school and you wanted to just hang out and just meet people, even from your, or like see people on the weekend from your high school, you just go to the mall. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's so true.
And malls don't even exist anymore.
That's before we had. Oh yeah, and cell phones is a thing. Actually,
yeah.
I forgot to mention that in my little readout. I must have skipped through it. But with the advent of cell phones, I think. Oh, okay. So this is what it is. Okay. So I wrote down a kind of like list of things that I used to do back in the. Let's say I started with the 90s, right? So, like, I would wake up, I would either go to school, then I went home, I helped cook, clean, play a little bit with my siblings, went to bed, probably watched some TV, no cell phone, and some church on Sunday. So, in the 2000s, it went to, woke up, went to work, comedy bar, some cell phone activity, and it moves to texting, all right? Because now texting is a big thing, right? Then I wrote a lot because I wanted to be a comedian. I had some occasional travel, no church. The 2010s, woke up, went to work, went to bars instead now. Some comedy, some writing, but less and less. Less phone calls, a lot of texting. Like, didn't really talk on the phone anymore. Facebook comes into play, and that changes everything because I'm just like, I don't even want to talk to people anymore. I'm like, can't they reach me on Facebook? Like, or text me. I just didn't want to talk anymore. It's almost like they weaned me off, or something weaned me off of talking to people on the phone. I used to talk on the phone 24/7 as a kid.
Yeah,
like,
same. I used to love calling people. I still do. I remember when I was an undergrad, I called this girl who I liked once, and she literally picked up, said, "Don't ever do this again," and then hung up and said, and then text me. I was like, okay.
Wow.
She was not about it. She was like, "Do not call me." All right.
That's hilarious. So then 2020s come. You have COVID, right? So now I'm working from home, and now it's work, at my house, Netflix. Then I did some podcasting. Thank God for Marty, because otherwise I don't know what I would have done. Less texting and less talking. Lots of social media. I live on Instagram now. Literally. Like, it is a place in my head. I really think it's a sphere. You know what I mean? Like, it's some place. There's some traveling, no church, right? And I keep saying no church because I feel like church was a place for a lot of us back in the days where it was the community center, where you would meet people and see the same families over and over, where you would see like the same groups of people, the same families over and over again for years and years and years, decades and decades and decades. And now we're just at home. Like, church is in our living room in front of the TV staring at it. Like, that's church now.
The best church ever.
Oh, it's the worst church ever. And I think technology is making millions of Americans, and Gen Z in particular, lonelier, and it's leading many to spend more and more time like with devices, right, and technology, and it's making them lonelier, and me lonelier too, by the way, at a higher percentage, because we're just with our phones now. I feel like I hold this phone so much now, and it's almost near me all the time, that it's probably or possibly has replaced the concept of a partner. I'm serious. Like, I go to bed and my cell phone is about this amount of space away from me. Like, back in the days when
Did it ever cheat you? Did it ever cheat on you?
My phone?
Oh, my phone's definitely cheated on me.
I never give out my code to my phone.
Does it talk to other girls?
You mean other...
Does your phone talk to other girls?
You mean other guys?
Other guys, yes.
I know. My phone's very loyal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best partner
I'll
ever,
beat
then.
that bitch.
You know, I think, you know...
No, but hear me out. Like, the phone, I feel like we have been weaned out of social circumstances and somehow have been convinced to stay on the couch with the phone, to text on the phone, to listen to music on the phone, I go to a bar sometimes and I literally put my headphones in and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not going to meet anybody today. So now I'm on my phone, I'm with my music, I'm having my headphones in. It's like, defeats the entire purpose of actually going to a bar, because bars are like an open space where you could kind of still meet people and just talk just for fun, right? But it's still becoming like an antisocial space. And then you're on it all day, like you're scrolling, you're looking at news, I'm looking at stuff I want to buy, I'm buying things. And then like I'm on the street, I'm walking my dog, it's me and this freaking phone and this thing in my ear. And then I come home and it's like just me and this phone. And then at night I go to sleep with it. I wake up with it. The phone tags along with me everywhere. Like, it's almost like it's an actual person.
I hear you. I really do. I just think it's blaming the phone and because it's not really the phone. It's also technology in general. I think is like part of it, but not the whole thing. Because like also we have to remember the pandemic. And how like a lot of people were like everyone, like not everyone, a lot of people were pushed inside because there were still workers out there who were risking their lives every day.
Yes, essential workers.
And like I don't think American society, not only has it not recovered from the pandemic, I don't think it ever will.
I think so too.
Yeah, like these companies are trying to force people back into the office, and what they're realizing is that folks will rather quit than go back to the office for any reason. Like literally DOJ. I remember talking to some folks who were government lawyers, and they were like, if the government told me I had to go back to my office, I would just quit and go to corporate law and make 3 times as much, and I'd have a new job next week. Like you know what I mean? Like,
lucky them.
Yeah, like seriously. They're like, you can't force me to like go back to the office. You know what I mean? And like I'm just using that as a small like sample of what I'm talking about. But like what I think we have is like American society now is just one more isolating.
Yeah.
And technology also, to your point, feeds into that too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like a circle. It's like self-perpetuating. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And on like also, I'll say that like, I think for young men in particular, like, to your point, a lot of social media has affected and warped young men's brains. Like, like I'll be on Twitter and somebody like some like dude will post like a woman, and like all these dudes will be like, "Oh, she's ugly, she's ugly, she's ugly, she's ugly, she's ugly."
No,
and I'm like, she's not ugly, and I'm like, no, their minds have been warped by Instagram, so they think Instagram models are like the only real women.
And all of them are like airbrushed to death. They don't even look like that.
No, thank you. They don't even look like that.
Half of them. That's what they all.
Like, listen, as a man who has actually dated, all right, some of these models before, okay?
Meow.
No, like I'll say this. Like, one, they don't look like that, all right? There is a whole production. Like, they're still beautiful women. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're ugly. I'm not saying there's a lie. I'm just saying, like, like, technology exists to make everyone look better than they already do. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But two, like, a lot of these young men also, on the other hand, they use Instagram and like these like social media sites to downplay themselves. Like, there'll be dudes.
You don't think it's upplay? Why are you saying downplay?
No, like there are dudes who are like, oh, I have no chance on the dating market at all.
Oh no.
I'm like 5'7", and like no woman will look at me ever.
Oh,
and I'm
that's
like,
so sad.
And I'm like, the amount of short West African men I know who have like 3 girlfriends, like,
dude,
like seriously, like,
it's all about confidence.
No, seriously, they all have more game than me.
Confidence, like, projection. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Or like, not even at like what I use West Africans like I have a lot of West African friends. Or like from New Jersey, the amount of short Italian men I know who have like or who are happily married now. Mm-hmm. Like, shout outs to my friend Tom. All right, in Vegas, Tom is like 5'8". He's like 100, like what, 30, soaking wet. Like, short Italian man, but good man, very funny, very charismatic, very personable.
Let me guess, has a good job, works hard.
Yeah, he
That's
works.
half the battle.
Yeah, has a good job, and he can hold a conversation. That man, I've never seen him struggle with women. Tom has always had some woman somewhere. All right, there's always been some white woman who loves Tom, and Tom loves her back. You know what I mean?
Lord.
But I think a lot of men now, like to your point, social media has warped their minds where they think, oh, I just have no chance at all. I'm not over 6 foot. I don't make over 100K. I haven't traveled anywhere. I don't work out. I think there's no woman who wants me. And it's like, nah, like, fam, there's a woman who wants you probably right now. She's probably at the coffee shop. Your problem is that you don't see her. You only see the Instagram model that you see on Instagram, all right?
I agree with you. Sometimes I feel like it's a matter of, sometimes with guys, I like when I'm on these online dating sites, and let me tell you, I every time I get on, I run straight out of those spaces. I feel so judged by the guys who contact me. And I'm like, what is all this judging? You're not even like a Denzel Washington. And I'm not saying it would be right for someone like Denzel to be critiquing me. But if I saw your picture, I was like, wow, this guy is hot stuff. Like, he's really got it going on. I could see why you would like want more pictures and, want to ask me these crazy questions like, how much money do you make and where do you work? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I once had a guy ask me for so many pictures. I was like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, that's real. I agree.
I was like, what is this? I was like, this is so strange.
It is.
But I feel like some men have become so judgy. I'm like, I'm normal. I look like a normal person.
That reminds me of the South Park episode. So, basically, okay, so talking about the photos and stuff like that. So in the elementary school, there's this really, really ugly girl who wants to go after Butters. And Butters says, like, no, thank you. I think, she's nice and everything, but she's ugly. Like, she's really ugly.
So mean.
And so, I can't remember her name, but, like, a main female character says, like, that's so mean. She's a beautiful woman on the inside. And it's like, I didn't ask about the inside. I said the outside. Like, she's ugly. She's really ugly. He's like, no, let me show you. And so they go to the computer room, and she does a lot of modifications on her picture, and she makes it, like, Instagram hot.
Oh,
and so the little kid is now obsessed with, like, the girl in real life, but only attached with the photo with her. And so it becomes rampant in the whole episode, and it kind of displays how, like, we're running with a virtual image.
I see your point, Marty.
100,
yes.
100%. Like, there's this video that kind of went a little viral where this guy picked up this woman, and I'm sorry it had to be this way around, right? And he's like, you're not the girl in the picture that you have online. You don't look anything like this. So then he holds up the picture, and it's like, it's obviously just... but to me also, it's like, dude, like, how could you not tell this was like ultimate?
No, I think I know I think I know the video you're talking about. Now, like, Fran, she did catfish him. I don't
she did catfish him, but also too, to me, like, my philosophy in life goes, if it looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. You know what I mean? You should also be able to decipher when people are trying to fool you. Can't you tell when something is super airbrushed?
Yeah.
Like, can't you tell when someone has on way too much makeup?
No, they can't.
Yes, you can.
No, they can't.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Marty, there's a way humans look. If you're sending pictures of yourself and you're looking like something close to anime perfection... Right, anime perfection with like the tippy toes. Like sometimes these girls they have their nose and it's got like a little gold thing on it here, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Why all that makeup? All this drag queen makeup and made for TV makeup, which is what a lot of women are wearing nowadays outside with like the contouring galore, right? I think is also maybe adding to men's views of what women are supposed to look like. Because I think men are looking for perfection online too. I'm exhausted of like, I don't know, some 63-year-old guy hitting me up on Insta, and I'm like, I'm not even Insta or like dating sites. I'm like, I'm 44. Like, no, like, come on now. You're almost as old as my mom. Like, you don't even feel any bad type of way about this.
Let Pops shoot his shot. I'm kidding. Like, you don't have
let
to
Pops shoot his shot. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like men also have a warped view of what women are supposed to look like.
Yes, they do.
And I think men have a warped view, and also women have a warped view. And I think we all kind of live, especially nowadays, in like some kind of space where we all want something that, you know, typically either doesn't exist or is very, very rare.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you tell me, like, what I want, I'd be like Michael B. Jordan or a young Denzel Washington. Like, that's what I would like, right? Which is basically the same thing, right? But how many of us are going to get that guy? For real. 1%, maybe 2% of women are going to be shooting and getting that shot at, like, that hottie that's like 90% hot with like everything going on, right? But yeah, go ahead, Ron.
No, I was just gonna say, like, also a lot of men date women that will help them get kudos from other men. You know what I mean? Like the amount of men like who will be like, I like her a lot, but I can't date her because my like homies like will say that she's ugly and that, like, you know, like, and make fun of me. Is high as shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
no, I don't.
And it's usually more about younger men. Like, after a certain age, like, as a man, you really just want a woman who gives you peace and likes you back. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you do like her, and, like, you know, you want to, like, you know, see that she wins too. I'm just saying, like, the opinions of other men start to decrease as you become more and more like of an older man. You know what I mean? But like for like a lot of young men, it's like, oh, well, like she's cool and like we have a great time together. But like the most common, like, oh, she's fat. So like I can't date her openly because she's fat, and because she's fat, my friends won't like her, and then they'll make fun of me, and so that's why I can't date her. You know what I mean? It's like that. So like I think there's also social pressure from men as well. But like let's can we move from dating to like
can we go to questions? Because
yeah, let's go.
I feel like we went all over the place with the topic at hand.
Yeah. I think it's a good topic, though.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I was like looking at, you know, some statistics online about loneliness in America. It's saying like 1 in 3 Americans are lonely pretty much overall. The older you get, of course, as you get older, people start to die and or people move away, things like that. People get lonelier and lonelier, and like, especially like in their 50s, there's I want to say a higher percentage of loneliness within the elderly community. But in general, Americans like are becoming lonelier and lonelier as the years are going by. And I think it's mainly because of our increased attachment and need for technology and our addiction to television. I think the pandemic made it worse with like Netflix having all these freaking series that we sat down and like during COVID and just sat and watched. What are these things called? Like during the pandemic, like within a week, I watched the entire what's that series on HBO? A Game of Thrones. I watched the entire thing in 7 days with my neighbor. Oh, we just sat down every day after work. She was like, "Oh, you haven't seen it?" She's like, "I wouldn't mind rewatching it." And my ass was as flat as a pancake afterwards. I'm telling you. I was gigantic. I probably gained like 30 pounds drinking wine and watching Game of Thrones. But on the weekends, we would start and like I would be there from like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning until like 11 midnight at night just watching Game of Thrones.
Wow, you know what? For me, it was The Wire. I watched all of The Wire.
See, but you sat and watched it, right?
Yeah.
So I think the pandemic got us used to like sitting on couches and like just consuming
consume the content.
Massive amounts of content at a time. And like during that time frame, I feel like it would have been a lot more productive for us to like maybe read books, maybe journal, do other things. Maybe listen to podcasts. I don't know. A lot of people took up baking and cooking and other stuff.
Yep.
But I think the majority of us were on our asses.
Oh, and Hannibal.
Watching television. Huh?
I watched a ton of Hannibal. And that got me into cooking.
Oh.
Yeah, seriously.
Right, so there was a cooking thing. So especially with the pandemic, I think it pushed us towards just being indoors more and just like
I agree
connecting with
yeah,
television. Like nowadays, if I'm feeling sick or I'm kind of feeling like introverted, which is bizarre for someone like me, because I'm so extroverted. I can sit down like after work. I log off at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I'm not lying. I will walk Ziggy around 10 o'clock. But between 3:30 and like 1 or 2 in the morning, I am binging some series on Netflix. And I don't care how bad it is. I'm watching that whole fucking thing. What?
Start wrapping it up because the battery's about to die.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do some questions.
Gotcha.
Roms, how do people get out of a loneliness rut? Because I think a lot of us are in it.
Well, I think you have to value human connections. I think the script of like American masculinity like doesn't work anymore for a lot of men, you know? Like having few friends that you talk to only about like sports and shit doesn't really work anymore for them. And so like to get out of a loneliness rut, you really have to make
a conscious effort to like get out there.
But not only to get out there, but to have and build deep and impactful relationships that are like on an emotional level, and a lot of men just don't have the tools, I feel, to really do that. And also a lot of men have a like resistance to being friends with women,
or friends with other men too.
No, very true. Yes, that's a great point. And like if you're not able to do that, then it's not going to work for you. Like, you know what I mean, you're going to be lonely. And then you're going to, like, avoid social interaction because you feel awkward. And then it's a feedback loop. So you have to, like, break it. You have to really just put yourself out there, like you were saying.
And you know what? I'm going to be really honest. So I am, like, not very good with communicating. And I block a lot of people just very, very quickly. And I think it's a matter of, like, just getting older and just getting tired of, like, people doing the same thing over and over again. So if I think I see a pattern coming, I kind of block it before I think it happens, even though I don't know that that's going to happen. So I've indulged in this culture of, like, ghosting people. And I'm sure it doesn't help with some people's self-esteem that they've been ghosted.
Yeah.
And it's unfair, but personally, if I ghost someone, it's really because I feel like there's just nothing there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, it's just going to be a waste of time, and I just can't deal with the rejection. And I can't deal with the bullshit if I know, like, it's lies that are about to be coming out next. You know what I mean? And I take things really personally really quickly. You know what I mean?
I don't blame you.
Yeah, so I've been part of the culture of being mean to men, and I feel bad about that. But I agree with you, Rami. You really have to make a conscious effort to get off the couch, get off your phone, and get out there and do something. But also, like, I feel like we need, like, mentorship programs for a lot of men and girls and men and young girls, young men and young women, to help us get off of our phones. Like as Dave Chappelle, Twitter is not a real place. Instagram, thank you. I think you gave me whatever you have. Instagram's not a real place. Like, Facebook is not a real place. Snapchat is not a real place. Like, all those likes that you're getting, you know, unless you know each and every individual that's liking your things and you actually interact with these people every day, those social interactions on social media are not real interactions. You're interacting with machines. And I think what machines are doing is they're just teaching us to isolate ourselves more and more and more until eventually, I don't know. Well, what do you think is going to happen after we completely isolate ourselves?